Hey Guy, and welcome to our history podcast for sleep. Tonight, we're not going to follow a king or a knight or even a monk. We're going to follow the journey of an object, a single, beautiful, handmade book. We are going to feel its life over 700 years, from the pristine darkness of its creation to the quiet, dignified rest of a museum. You are going to feel the pages turn, feel the hands that held it, and smell the centuries that have soaked into its vellum and leather, the scent of rain, smoke, and hope. But before we open the cover on this story, a small dose of reality. For a fragile thing of ink and animal skin, the chances of making it through 7 centuries are slim to none. Between fires, floods, wars, neglect, and simple, hungry bookworms, you probably won't survive this. Most books like you have long since crumbled into dust, but you are a survivor. And tonight, we are going to trace that unlikely, miraculous journey. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this episode or subscribe to the podcast, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Your story begins at the exact moment your creator's story ends. After 17 years of patient labor, you are no longer a project. You are a finished, perfect, magnificent book. The man who gave his life to create you, Brother Thomas, hands you to the frail, ancient abbot. His hands tremble as he holds you. You feel your own weight for the first time, the heft of the oak boards, the dense stack of vellum, the brass of your clasps. You are a substantial thing, a holy thing. Before you are put away, you are given a final layer of protection, a quirky and thoughtful addition called a chemise. A tailor monk wraps you in a loose-fitting, secondary cover of soft, supple doeskin, with long, draping edges that fold around you like a protective jacket. It is designed to shield your ornate leather cover from scuffs and scratches. You expect, perhaps, to be taken to the abbey's library, to be placed among the other books of learning. But that is not your fate. You are far too valuable for that. Instead, the abbot himself carries you to the monastery's treasury. This is a cold, stone-vaulted room behind a heavy, iron-banded door. This is where the abbey's true treasures are kept, and it's a mainstream historical fact that in the Middle Ages, a book like you was considered a treasure on par with any other. Your new neighbors are not other books meant for reading. To your right sits a gleaming silver chalice, used only on Easter Sunday. To your left rests a small, gilded box, a reliquary said to contain a single, splintered piece of a saint's finger bone. Your presence here is a statement. You are not just a book. You are a concentration of wealth, a symbol of the abbey's power and prestige, and a sacred object in your own right. The abbot places you inside a large, deep chest made of oak. He lays you down gently on a clean linen cloth. He closes the lid, and your world becomes one of darkness and silence. For the first decades of your life, this is all you know. The cool, dry air, the faint scent of old wood and cold metal. You are a story waiting to be read, a work of art waiting to be seen, but your primary function is simply to be a treasure held in reserve. On rare occasions, the chest is opened. Perhaps it is the anniversary of the death of the patron who paid for your creation, and you are brought out to be displayed on the altar during a special mass. Perhaps a powerful bishop or a nobleman is visiting the abbey, and the abbot wishes to impress him with the monastery's finest possession. On these days, light floods your senses. You feel the soft doeskin chemise being unwrapped. Human hands, clean and careful, open your clasps and turn your pages. You hear whispers of awe as they gaze upon your golden initials and your vibrant, jewel-like colors. They marvel at the perfection of your script. But they do not truly read you. They admire you. You are a spectacle. And as you lie there, open to a psalm, you are the subject of a debate that historians still argue about. What was your primary purpose? Were you truly created for liturgical use, to be read and chanted from in daily prayer? Or was your main function symbolic, to be a magnificent object, a testament to the piety and wealth of your patron, and the skill of your home monastery, a treasure to be guarded and displayed. Your early life in this dark chest strongly suggests the latter. You are less a tool of worship and more an object of veneration. The years pass by in the darkness. Through the thick wood of the chest, you can feel the faint vibrations of the monks, chanting, the tolling of the abbey bells marking the passage of the days, the seasons, the decades. The old abbot who first held you dies. Brother Simeon, the stern master of the scriptorium, is laid to rest in the small cemetery. And one day, the lid of the chest opens, and a pair of old, familiar hands reaches for you. It is Brother Thomas, your creator, now an old man himself, his back bent, his eyes clouded with age. He has been granted a special visit. He opens you to his favorite page, the one with the tiny, defiant killer rabbit in the margin. His finger, wrinkled and stained with the memory of ink, gently traces the outline of the drawing. He doesn't say a word. He closes your cover, and you are placed back in the darkness. It is the last time you will ever see him. Your life is one of stillness, a long, patient waiting. You are a perfect, sleeping story, your potential held in reserve. The darkness of the treasury is not a prison. It is a womb protecting you, keeping you pristine, waiting for your real life in the great, wide, dangerous world to finally begin. For 50 years, the darkness of the Abbey treasury is your entire world. The slow, patient rhythm of monastic life is all you know. Then one day, everything changes. The lid of your chest is opened, not for a brief, reverent viewing, but with a sense of purpose and finality. You are lifted from your linen bed. The soft doeskin chemise that has protected you for half a century is removed. You feel the cool air of the world on your bare leather cover. Several of the senior monks are gathered, their faces grim and solemn. An alliance is needed. A powerful duke has offered the abbey his protection, and in return, the abbey must offer its greatest treasure, you. You are carefully packed into a new, smaller chest, lined with thick wool to cushion you from the shocks of the road. The lid is closed, and the world you knew, the faint scent of incense and old stone, is gone forever. Your new world is one of movement. You feel the jostle and sway as your chest is loaded onto a wagon. For the first time, you hear the sounds of the outside world clearly. The rumble of the wooden wheels, the shouts of the driver, the whinny of a horse. The suspension on a 15th century wagon is, to put it mildly, non-existent, and every rut in the road is a jolt to your heavy oak boards. After many days of this rough travel, you arrive. The air that seeps through the cracks in your chest is different. It smells of wood smoke, roasting meat, and 100 other complex human scents. There is the sound of music, of laughter, of dogs barking. You have left the sacred silence of the monastery and entered the chaotic, vibrant world of a noble castle. You are brought into a great hall, and your chest is opened. The light is blinding. It is not the cool, northern light of the scriptorium, but the warm, flickering light of 100 torches and a great, roaring fireplace. The abbot, who has traveled with you, lifts you out. He is presenting you to a powerful, bearded duke, and then you see her. Standing beside the duke is a young woman, hardly more than a girl, her face pale and nervous. This is the duke's daughter, a princess. And you are to be her wedding gift, a part of her dowry as she is married off to a foreign prince to cement the very alliance your sacrifice is meant to seal. You are not just a book. You are a very heavy, very holy treaty, bound in leather. This is the mainstream historical fact of your new life. You are a high-status object, a tool of diplomacy. The gift of a manuscript of your quality was a gesture of immense significance, a way to bind two powerful families together in a web of obligation and prestige. The princess, your new owner, steps forward. Her hands, small and soft, reach out to touch your cover. She is perhaps 15 years old. She has probably never seen an object so beautiful, so intricate in her entire life. In her world, you are more impressive than a stable of fine horses. and require significantly less maintenance. You wonder, as she looks at your pages, what she truly sees. Historians still debate the literacy rates of medieval noblewomen. Was she given you as a tool for her own private, pious reading, or was your primary purpose to be a symbol of her status, a treasure to be displayed in her private chambers as a testament to her family's wealth and her own devout nature? Her father, the Duke, wears a small, richly decorated book tucked into the belt at his waist, a personal prayer book known as a girdle book, a quirky and fashionable accessory for the wealthy. It's a sign that books are becoming personal items, not just institutional ones. Your role in the world is changing. She looks at the page you are open to, the one with your creator's little joke, the knight fighting the snail in the margin. A brief, fleeting smile touches her lips, a moment of genuine connection across the centuries with the man who made you. Then the Duke nods, the transaction complete. The abbot bows and retreats, his face a mask of sorrow at having given you away. You are carefully placed back into your traveling chest. You belong to the princess now. You are part of her life, her dowry, her future. You feel the motion of the wagon begin again, carrying you away from your homeland, towards a new country, a new castle, and a life you cannot possibly imagine. The quiet, contemplative, masculine world of your creation is behind you. Your future is in the hands of a young woman, in the vibrant, political, and dangerous world of a royal court. The darkness you are in now is not the patient darkness of the treasury. It is the restless darkness of a journey, a passage into the unknown. Your journey ends in a castle in a foreign land, a place of strange accents and unfamiliar customs. You are unpacked from your traveling chest and find yourself not in a cold stone treasury, but in a warm, richly appointed room. This is the private chamber of the princess, your new owner. There are tapestries on the walls, a fire crackling in a great stone fireplace, and the air smells of beeswax, dried herbs, and expensive perfume. You are placed on a carved wooden lectern near her bed, a place of prominence and daily use. Your life in the dark is over. Your working life has just begun. You are a Psalter, and now, for the first time, you are used as one. This becomes the mainstream historical fact of your existence for the next 50 years. You are the central object of your owner's private devotional life. Every evening, as dusk settles, the princess, who is now a duchess, married to her prince, sits before you. Her ladies-in-waiting depart, and she is alone with you in her prayers. She opens your heavy cover, the brass clasps making a soft click in the quiet room. You learn her touch. You learn the way she reads. She does not simply look at the words your creator so carefully wrote. She participates in them. This is the quirky, intimate tidbit of her devotion. She reads with her finger. You feel the soft pressure of her fingertip on your vellum pages, tracing the elegant script line by line as she whispers the Latin prayers. It is a constant, gentle, physical connection between her, the words, and the very skin of the page. You feel the warmth of her hand as she steadies the book, her thumb resting in the margin right, next to the little drawing of a killer rabbit that Brother Thomas drew almost a century ago. From your place on the lectern, you become the silent witness to her life. You are a kind of leather-bound diary that talks back to her in the words of King David. You see her grow from a nervous, homesick bride into a confident and powerful noblewoman. You are open on your stand when she receives news that her husband has been victorious in a battle. You are there when she weeps with joy at the birth of her first son. You are there, her silent companion, when she grieves through a long winter after that same son is taken by a fever. You become a spiritual playlist for her soul. She turns to the psalms of praise in times of happiness and the psalms of lament in times of sorrow. And as she reads, you wonder about the connection being made. Historians and literary scholars still debate the nature of this personal reading. When she reads of betrayal, of sorrow, of hope, Is she merely contemplating the established theological meaning of the text? Or is she doing something more personal? Is she finding her own life, her own secret fears and desperate hopes reflected in the ancient words? Is the joy of the psalmist her joy? Is the grief of the penitent her grief? You feel as if the Psalms are becoming the soundtrack to her own heart. One evening, her husband has been away at war for many months, and there has been no news. She is reading Psalm 13, "How long, O Lord? Will you forget me forever?" Her voice is a choked whisper. As she leans over your open page, a single hot tear falls from her eye and lands directly on the vellum. You feel the tiny, dark impact of the moisture. The meticulously prepared surface of the page puckers slightly as the salt and water soak into the skin. The iron gall ink of a single word bleeds, just a little at the edges. When the tear dries, it leaves behind a faint, ghostly stain, a subtle warping of the page. It is your first scar. It is the first scent that will become a part of you, the faint, salty memory of rain, of a noblewoman's tears. This is the unfortunate but very authentic water damage of a book that is truly loved and used. Decades pass. Your owner is an old woman now, a grand matriarch, her hair the color of snow. Her hands are wrinkled, but they still trace your lines of text every evening. Your binding has softened from her touch. The gold on the most frequently read pages has been worn smooth. You are no longer the pristine, untouched object from the Abbey treasury. You have earned the scuffs, the smudges of candle wax, the tear stains. You have been absorbed into the fabric of a human life. You are no longer just the book of Brother Thomas. You are the book of the Duchess Isabeau. You are the keeper of her secrets, the silent witness to her prayers, her joys, and the long, quiet sorrows of her life. Your noble owner, the Duchess Isabeau, lives to a great age, and you are her constant, silent companion to the very end. After her death, you are left resting on the lectern in her quiet chambers, a relic of a long and pious life. The castle is peaceful, ruled by her son. The world feels steady, your future secure. You have known nothing but the quiet devotion of the monastery and the intimate stillness of this room for over a century. You are entirely unprepared for the sound of war. It begins as a distant rumble, a shouting on the wind. Then comes the sharp, terrifying blast of trumpets, not in parade but in anger. The peaceful rhythm of castle life is broken. From your room you can hear screams, the clash of steel, the splintering of wood. The castle, your home and fortress, is being sacked. This is the brutal, mainstream historical fact of medieval life. Peace is a temporary state, and a place of wealth like this is always a target. For hours, the chaos rages outside the chamber door. Then, with a sickening crash, the door is kicked in. Two soldiers stumble into the room. They are not the neat, liveried guards of the castle. Their faces are smeared with dirt and sweat. Their leather armor is dented and stained. Their eyes are wild and greedy. They are here to loot. They overturn the Duchess's bed. They rip the tapestries from the walls. They are a whirlwind of violent avarice. One of them sees you. He stomps over to the lectern and grabs you. The handling is brutal. You feel your spine, so carefully sewn 100 years ago, creak in protest. His hands are rough and dirty. He doesn't open you with reverence. He probably cannot read. He is subjecting you to the most brutal form of literary criticism, complete and utter indifference to your contents. He is only interested in your material value. He tests the weight of your brass clasps with his thumb. He tries to pry at the leather on your oak boards, perhaps hoping to find hidden jewels. He sees no value in the 17 years of labor it took to create your pages, only in the raw materials that hold you together. It's a very pragmatic, if short-sighted, valuation of your components. Apparently disappointed that you are not encrusted with gems, but deciding you are still worth something, he doesn't cast you aside. He shoves you unceremoniously into a large burlap sack. You are added to cart, along with a silver-backed mirror, and a handful of pewter candlesticks. Your world goes dark and rough. You are thrown over a shoulder, the hard edges of the other loot digging into your cover. You can smell the acrid smoke from the fires that have been started in the castle, and you hear the drunken shouts of the victorious soldiers as you are carried out into the courtyard. Later, you are dumped onto the muddy floor of a large tent in the army's camp. The soldier presents his findings to his captain. The captain, a man with a hard face but intelligent eyes, kicks through the pile of plunder. He sees the candlesticks, the mirror, and then he sees you. He picks you up, brushing the mud from your cover. Unlike his soldier, he handles you with a flicker of understanding. He opens your cover and looks at your pages, at the perfect script and the gleaming gold. He knows you are not just scrap leather and brass. He knows you are a book of quality, an object of immense value, not just as plunder, but as something to be sold or perhaps ransomed. This was a quirky but common part of warfare. A discerning commander could make more money selling a prize like you to a scholar than by melting down your clasps. You now represent a fine point of military policy that historians still debate. Was the sacking of a castle a chaotic free-for-all, where a soldier was entitled to whatever he could carry? Or was it a more controlled process, where high-value items like you were supposed to be turned over to a commander for strategic dispersal? Your fate has been decided by this very question. The common soldier saw only a few coins worth of brass. The captain sees a much greater prize. He dismisses the soldier and keeps you for himself. Your long, peaceful, devotional life is shattered. The quiet world of women's prayers and gentle hands is gone. You have been ripped from your home by violence and have now fallen into the world of men, war, and commerce. You are no longer a holy relic or a beloved companion. You are a spoil of war, a commodity, your future dependent on the calculations of a pragmatic soldier. As you lie on his rough campaign table, surrounded by maps and daggers, you have never been further from home. You lie on the captain's rough-hewn campaign table, a silent, incongruous object amidst maps, daggers, and wine-stained cups. The sounds of the military camp, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the shouts of men gambling are your new reality. The captain, the man who saved you from a common soldier's sack, spends a long time looking at you that evening. He is not a man of God, but he is a man who recognizes quality. He runs a calloused finger over the tooling on your leather cover. He opens you, and though he cannot read the Latin, he understands the immense labor in your perfect script and the sheer, breathtaking expense of your golden letters. He is not appraising your spiritual worth. He is calculating your resale value. The next day, a man dressed in the dark, sober robes of a scholar is admitted to the captain's tent. He is not a monk, but a layman, a professor from a university in a distant city, perhaps traveling with the army as a clerk or diplomat. This is your first encounter with a new kind of man, a quirky but increasingly common figure in this changing world. The secular scholar, his devotion is not to a monastic order, but to knowledge itself. The captain, seeing his opportunity, gestures towards you. A spoil of war, he says with a gruff smile, fell off a wagon, so to speak. The scholar's eyes fall upon you, and his reaction is immediate and profound. He steps forward as if drawn by a magnet. His academic neutrality vanishes, replaced by the naked excitement of a connoisseur who has stumbled upon a masterpiece. It's the medieval equivalent of an expert on Antiques Roadshow suddenly looking at the camera with wide, unbelieving eyes. He asks the captain's permission to touch you. His hands, when they lift you, are gentle and inquisitive. They are not the pious hands of your duchess or the rough hands of the soldier. They are the hands of an analyst. He examines your binding. He studies the style of your script. He holds a page up to the light to look at the quality of the vellum. He recognizes your Northumbrian style, the specific way your grotesques are drawn in the margins. He knows, within a decade or two, when and where you were made. He doesn't just see a beautiful book. He sees a piece of history, a priceless artifact of a bygone era. This, the scholar says, his voice hushed with awe, is a treasure. It belongs in a library, not a military camp. The captain smiles. Treasures have a price, he replies. And so a negotiation begins over you. The scholar argues for your preservation, for your cultural importance. The captain argues for his right to the spoils of war, for the payment of his men. They haggle. A price is named, scoffed at, and a counteroffer is made. All the while you lie between them, the silent subject of their debate. This is the murky world of the medieval book trade, and historians still argue about how these transactions worked. Was it a formal network, or just an ad hoc, opportunistic market like this one? A back-of-the-tent, no questions asked kind of deal. Finally, a price is agreed upon. The scholar reaches into a heavy purse and counts out a small pile of silver coins onto the table. The clinking sound is the sound of your sale. You have been purchased. The captain, satisfied, pushes you towards the scholar. Better in your hands than as kindling for the morning fire, he grunts, and you realize the truth of that. You have been rescued. The scholar takes you, his rightful property now. He spends the rest of the day with you, not praying but studying. He analyzes the recipe of your ink by its color. He studies the specific cut of the quill nibs from the shape of the letters. He looks at your little marginal drawings, not as jokes, but as cultural evidence. You are no longer just a holy book. You are becoming a historical document. That evening, the scholar carefully wraps you in a clean linen cloth and places you gently into his own leather satchel. You are leaving the world of war, its violence and its pragmatism. You are entering the world of secular learning, of universities and humanism, a world that your creator, Brother Thomas, could never have imagined. Your purpose is shifting once again. You were made as an object of faith. You became a companion in prayer. You survived as a piece of loot, and now you have been rescued to become a subject of study. The life of a book, you are learning, is a long and very strange journey. The scholar's satchel is your new, temporary home. After days of travel, you arrive in a bustling city, a world of cobblestones, crowded streets, and the constant ringing of merchant bells. You are carried into a tall, narrow house and brought into a room that will become your new world for the next 100 years. The scholar's study. The room is a revelation. It is not a holy space like the monastery, nor an intimate space like the Duchess's chamber. It is a space dedicated to the organized chaos of the human mind. You are gently unwrapped and placed upon a heavy oak shelf, and here you meet your new neighbors. It is a strange and eclectic society. On one side of you sits another manuscript, an ancient copy of a Roman history, its script severe and elegant. But on your other side is a row of new objects, things you have never seen before, printed books. Their pages are thin paper, not vellum, and their letters are uniform, sharp, and soullessly identical. They look like perfectly cloned sheep, while you know you are a unique, hand-raised prize specimen. Further down the shelf, the collection gets even stranger. You see a human skull, polished and sitting on a stand, a very quiet neighbor who doesn't borrow things. Next to it is a brass astrolabe, a complex web of rings and pointers for reading the stars. And next to that, a stuffed barn owl, its glass eyes staring eternally into the middle distance. You have become part of a Wunderkammer, a cabinet of curiosities. This is the mainstream historical fact of your new existence. In this dawning age of humanism, wealthy and learned men no longer collected only holy relics. They collected knowledge in all its forms. You are a specimen now, sitting between natural history and astronomy, a piece of the great puzzle of the world that your new owner is trying to assemble. This study is a 16th century man cave, filled with books, weird gadgets, and the obligatory decorative skull. Before you are left in your new spot, the scholar does something that marks you forever. He takes out a small, printed piece of paper, bearing his name and a coat of arms surrounded by books. He carefully pastes it onto the inside of your front cover. It is his ex libris, his bookplate. This is a quirky and important moment in your life. It is a new kind of ownership, not of reverence or use, but of collection and pride. It is a formal, public declaration. This book belongs to me. Your life becomes one of peaceful, studious quiet. You are no longer a daily companion. You are an object of study. Perhaps once a month, the scholar takes you down from the shelf. He handles you with an expert's care. He doesn't whisper the Psalms. He makes notes. He compares the style of your script with the Roman history book. He analyzes the pigments in your illuminations with a magnifying glass. He is interested in the work of your creator's hand, not as an act of devotion, but as a piece of historical evidence. You are a data point in his grand theory of manuscript production. Decades pass. The scholar grows old at his desk, surrounded by his treasures. You watch him age, his hair turning from brown to gray, his shoulders stooping. When he dies, his son inherits the house and the entire collection. But the son is a merchant, a pragmatic man of commerce. He has little time for old books and strange curiosities. He leaves the study untouched, a monument to his father's eccentric hobby. You now enter a new phase of your life. Quiet neglect, the dust which the old scholar had so carefully kept away, begins to settle on your leather cover. A fine web is spun by a spider between you and the stuffed owl. The air grows still and musty. Sometimes a servant will enter to open the shutters, letting in a brief slice of sunlight that illuminates the dancing dust motes, but no one touches you. No one opens your clasps. You are simply part of the scenery, a dark, rectangular shape on a dusty shelf. You are slipping back into the familiar silence of your early life in the treasury, but this is not the revered silence of a sacred object. It is the lonely silence of a thing that has been forgotten. Looking out from your shelf at the jumbled collection of wonders, you are a part of a great historical question. Historians of science still debate whether these cabinets of curiosities were the true ancestors of the modern museum, a systematic attempt to classify and understand the world, or if they were just elaborate status symbols, a hodgepodge of interesting junk designed to show off how wealthy and worldly the collector was. A century drifts by in this dusty piece. You have been a silent, static observer. You have witnessed the world of knowledge shift from the pen to the printing press from your ringside seat. Your value has transformed from the spiritual to the historical, and now has faded into the merely decorative. You are simply waiting, a captive of someone else's history, your own story held dormant inside your tightly clasped covers. With the passing of the old scholar and the indifference of his merchant son, your life on the shelf becomes one of profound and dusty silence. For the better part of a century, you do not move. The world outside the study window changes, the city grows and bustles, but your world is a still life of wood, paper, and forgotten curiosities. The stuffed owl, your silent companion, stares eternally forward. The brass astrolabe gathers a fine green patina of age, and you simply wait, a sleeper in a room full of sleeping things, your clasps holding your stories tightly shut. One cold winter's night, a new scent enters the room. It is not the familiar, comforting smell of old leather and decaying paper. It is sharp, acrid, and alarming. It is the smell of smoke. At first, it is just a faint whisper in the air, but it grows steadily stronger. A thin, gray haze begins to snake under the door of the study. You hear a distant shouting, then the frantic ringing of a church bell, not for prayers, but for alarm. The house is on fire. From your static vantage point on the shelf, you can only witness the chaos unfold. An orange glow begins to illuminate the room, flickering and dancing. The sound grows from a distant crackle to a hungry roar as the fire consumes the floorboards below. The heat intensifies, a dry, oppressive wave that fills the study. This, you realize, is the great and constant danger that has haunted libraries and collections for centuries. You are in the middle of a mainstream historical disaster, the kind that has erased countless books like you from existence. You feel your own body begin to react to the terrible heat. This is a quirky, painful tidbit of your own physiology. As an object made of animal skin, you don't simply burn like paper. Your vellum pages begin to cockle and shrink. You can feel the edges of your pages, the ones your creator so carefully scraped and flattened, ripple and warp in the searing air, pulling against the threads of your binding. Your strong oak boards and tightly latched clasps protect your core, but the fire is trying to twist you out of shape from the inside. The roar becomes deafening. The shelf above you, holding a collection of heavy printed volumes, gives way with a great crash. The books rain down in a fiery cascade. Your quiet neighbor, the human skull, tumbles from its perch and shatters on the floor in a cloud of white dust, a second and presumably final cremation. The heat is unbearable now. Your own shelf groans, the wood blackening and cracking. With a final splintering protest, it breaks, and you are sent tumbling into the smoky darkness, landing hard on the floor among the debris. Then comes a different kind of violence. The study door bursts open, and men rush in, shouting, their faces black with soot. They are not here to loot, but to save what they can. Buckets of water are thrown into the room, hissing and steaming as they hit the flames. You are unceremoniously drenched. A cold, grimy wave of water soaks into your leather cover and seeps into the edges of your pages. This is a new threat, as dangerous as the fire itself, a damned if you do, drenched if you don't situation. After the fire is extinguished, in the gray light of dawn, the salvage begins. The study is a ruin of charred wood, black sludge, and broken objects. A man finds you in the wreckage, half submerged in a puddle. He picks you up. You are heavy with the water you have absorbed. You are carried out into a courtyard and laid on the cobblestones with a few other singed survivors. The treatment you receive now is a matter of chance, a reflection of a problem that conservators and historians still debate. What is the best way to save a book that has suffered both fire and water damage? Do you press it flat? Do you let it air dry slowly? The men who saved you simply leave you in the open air, a decision that might save you or might seal your fate. As you lie there, the cool morning air on your pages, the water slowly begins to steam away. But something else is happening. The deep, pervasive, oily scent of the smoke is embedding itself into every fiber of your being. It works its way into your vellum, into your leather cover, into the very threads of your binding. This is the second great scent of your life. First came the faint, salty rain of the Duchess's tears. And now comes the powerful, indelible smell of smoke. You have survived, but you are no longer the pristine treasure or the well-loved companion. You are a veteran, a casualty. Your cover is blackened and warped. Your pages are rippled at the edges, and you carry with you forever the ghost of the fire. You are a damaged, smoky, but intact old book, waiting to see what the world does with a survivor like you. You are a survivor. You lie on a new shelf in a rebuilt library, the singed edges of your cover, and the faint, permanent smell of smoke, a testament to the fire you endured. The water damage has made your vellum pages slightly stiff and wavy. You are no longer the pristine object you once were, but you are whole. As you rest, recovering from your ordeal, you begin to witness a quiet revolution, a change far more profound and permanent than any fire or war. It is the rise of the machine. New books begin to arrive in the library. At first, there are only a few, but soon they come in a steady stream. You watch them from your shelf. They are different from you, and different from the other handwritten manuscripts in the collection. Their pages are made of a thin, flimsy material called paper. Their letters are all uncannily, unnervingly identical, as if formed by a machine rather than a human hand. They are plain with no golden initials or hand-painted flourishes, and there are so many of them. These are printed books, and they are about to make you obsolete. This is the great disruption, the mainstream historical fact that changes the world forever. You, a product of 17 years of a single man's life, can now be replicated by a man with a printing press in a matter of weeks. Hundreds of identical copies of the Psalms can be produced more cheaply and quickly than your single, unique self. It's a humbling and terrifying new reality. The entire economy of knowledge, which for 1,000 years was based on the slow, patient, sacred labor of the scribe, has been overturned by a clever German and his machine. In these early days, you notice that the new technology still pays tribute to the old. You see one of these new printed books, what scholars will one day call an incunabulum, and notice that it seems to be a quirky hybrid of the two worlds. The text is printed, but the printer has left blank squares at the beginning of each psalm. A human artist has then gone back and painted in the red and blue initials by hand. It is a book born of a machine, but dressed in the clothes of a manuscript. It is a bridge between two ages, but you know, with the quiet certainty of an old object, which side of the bridge the world is walking toward. Your entire purpose for being begins to shift. For centuries, your primary value was as a vessel for a sacred text. You were the technology that allowed a person to read the Psalms. But now, anyone who merely wants to read the words can buy a small, cheap, portable printed copy. Your function as an information delivery system is over. You are no longer needed. You watch as your owner reaches for a small, plain, printed Psalter for his daily prayers, leaving you, the glorious, handcrafted original, to sit on the shelf. And you wonder if this new technology is changing the very nature of reading itself. This is a question that sociologists and media theorists still debate. When you were held by the Duchess, the two of you were in a relationship. Your unique character, the feel of your vellum, the quirks of your creator's hand were all part of the experience. These new books are standardized, impersonal. Does the reader's connection to the words change when the physical object that holds them is no longer special? Does reading become less of a conversation and more of a simple data transfer? As your practical value diminishes, a new kind of value begins to grow. People start to look at you not for what you say, but for what you are. They marvel at the fact that a human hand wrote every single one of your letters. They are captivated by the things the new machines cannot replicate: the gleam of your real gold leaf, the vibrant depth of your hand-ground pigments, and the strange, inexplicable humor of the killer rabbits and grotesque monsters in your margins. You are slowly transforming from a piece of technology into a piece of art. You are no longer a tool, you are an artifact. So you rest, a smoky, water-stained relic in an age of mass production. You are the classic, hand-built original, surrounded now by the efficient, soulless, mass-produced models. Your purpose has been irrevocably altered. You are no longer a sacred instrument for prayer in the same way. You are becoming a historical curiosity, a beautiful, obsolete object whose true worth now lies not in its utility, but in its story and its survival. For decades you lie dormant on the dusty shelf, a forgotten heirloom in a silent room. The merchant who inherited you eventually grows old and dies, and his children, who have even less interest in their grandfather's strange collection, decide to liquidate the estate. A man in a smart city suit arrives at the house. He is not a scholar or a soldier or a monk. He is an auctioneer, a merchant of history. His job is to turn your long, strange life into currency. He handles you with clean, white gloves, his touch impersonal and professional. He examines you not for your soul or your story, but for your selling points. He makes notes. A Northumbrian Psalter, circa 14th century, he murmurs. Significant illuminations, raised gilding. He notes your flaws, but he frames them as features. This is the quirky art of the auction catalog. Your smoke-blackened cover and water-stained pages are not described as damage, but as evidence of a dramatic provenance, a testament to your survival. After centuries of being a holy relic and a beloved companion, you are given a new, sterile identity. Lot 147. You are packed carefully into a crate and taken on a journey to a grand auction house in a city that feels like the capital of the world. For a few days before the sale, you are placed on display in a glass case, alongside other treasures to be sold. A set of Roman coins, a porcelain vase from China, a diamond necklace. Wealthy gentlemen in powdered wigs and silk coats peer at you through spectacles. They don't open you. They have read your description in the catalog. They discuss you in low, serious tones, using words like condition, rarity, and investment potential. They are not considering you as a path to God, but as a path to enhancing their status and their financial portfolio. Then comes the day of the auction. This is the mainstream historical fact of your new reality. The great auction houses of the 18th and 19th centuries have become the primary marketplace for cultural treasures, the place where the dispersed libraries of aristocrats and monasteries are turned into the private collections of the newly wealthy. You are brought into a grand, wood-paneled room filled with bidders. You are carried to the front and placed on a velvet-covered stand next to the auctioneer. He holds up his gavel and begins. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Lot 147, a truly remarkable example of late medieval illumination. He reads your description, his voice smooth and practiced. He gestures to you, and an assistant in white gloves holds you up for the crowd to see. You feel hundreds of eyes on you, calculating your worth. We shall start the bidding at £50, the auctioneer declares. A heavy silence fills the room. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a man in the front row gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod. I have £50, the auctioneer says. Another man raises a finger, 60, and so it begins. A polite, restrained battle of wealth and ego. It is a very civilized, very well-dressed eBay auction. The price climbs, £70, 80, £100, a number that would have staggered the scholar who bought you from the captain for a handful of silver. As the bids rise, you become the physical embodiment of a question that economists and art historians still debate. Does this process, the public auction, democratize art by making it available to anyone with the money to buy it? Or does it devalue it, stripping away its sacred and cultural worth by reducing it to a mere commodity, an asset to be bought and sold like shares in a shipping company? The men bidding for you seem untroubled by this debate. They simply want to own you. The bidding narrows to two men who trade bids back and forth in a tense, quiet duel. The price reaches a staggering sum. Finally, one man shakes his head, conceding defeat. The auctioneer raises his gavel. Sold, he cries out, the sound of the wood striking the podium echoing through the room. To the gentleman in the blue coat for £170. It is over. You have a new owner and a new, publicly declared monetary value. An assistant carefully takes you from the stand and wraps you in soft cloth. You have passed through another of the world's great filters, the open market. You have been appraised, marketed, commodified, and sold to the highest bidder. You are no longer just a holy book or a historical artifact. You are, officially, an investment. And as you wait in the darkness of a new box, you wonder what kind of life awaits you in the hands of a man who is willing to pay a fortune for the privilege of owning a smoky, water-stained, 400-year-old book. Your new owner is not a duke, a soldier, or a merchant. He is something new, a different kind of connoisseur. He is an antiquarian, a man whose passion is not just possessing beautiful old things, but understanding and preserving them. He brings you home, not to a castle or a dusty study, but to a library that is as clean and orderly as a surgeon's operating theater. You are not immediately placed on a shelf. You are taken to his workshop and gently laid upon a clean, felt-covered table. You are about to undergo a long and gentle period of healing. Your new owner is the book doctor, and he is preparing for surgery. For several days, he does nothing but look at you. He opens you with a care you haven't felt in centuries. He assesses the damage you have sustained over your long life. He notes the singed, warped leather of your cover, a souvenir from the fire. He examines the ghostly, puckered stain on Psalm 13, left by a duchess's tear long ago. He sees the weakness in your spine, where the original linen threads, now 400 years old, have begun to fray and snap. He is not just looking at a book, he is reading the biography of an object. Then, the restoration begins. It starts with a cleaning. He takes a loaf of simple, day-old bread and cuts away the crust. He crumbles the soft, white interior into a fine powder. This is the first quirky and remarkably gentle tool he will use. He sprinkles the breadcrumbs onto one of your pages, and with a soft, clean brush, he gently works them across the surface. The slightly sticky, slightly abrasive crumbs lift away centuries of accumulated dust and grime, without harming the delicate ink or the vibrant colors of your illuminations. It is a slow, patient, and very gluten-heavy cleaning method. Page by page, he erases the dust of neglect, revealing a brightness you had forgotten you possessed. He comes to a small tear at the edge of a page, probably from the soldier's rough handling. He mends it not with clumsy glue, but with a transparent, paper-thin patch made from the swim bladder of a sturgeon, an old bookbinder's secret. He applies it with a tiny brush, and the tear becomes a barely visible scar, stronger than it was before. The most important work is on your spine. Your structural integrity has been compromised. Your gatherings are loose. With the utmost care, he takes a small, sharp knife and snips the remaining, fragile threads of your original binding. For the first time in centuries, you are briefly deconstructed back into your component gatherings. He then places them in the correct order in a small press, and following the original holes your very first binder made, he begins to resew you. With a strong, new waxed linen thread, he painstakingly sews the gatherings back onto a set of fresh leather cords, reinforcing your spine and making you whole and strong again. It's a spa day for a 400-year-old book, complete with a deep cleaning and a full spinal realignment. As he works, you sense his philosophy, and it touches on a debate that book conservators still argue about today. What is the goal of a restoration? Should you try to make a damaged object look brand new, erasing its history? Or should you merely stabilize it, preserving the honorable scars of its journey? Your new owner chooses the latter path. He does not try to re-dye the fire-singed leather of your cover. He does not try to bleach away the tear stain. He leaves these marks of your life intact. He is not trying to turn back the clock. He is ensuring that your story, all of it, can survive for the future. After weeks of this patient, loving labor, you are whole again. Your pages are clean, your spine is strong, your tears are mended. You are still an old book, a book that clearly smells of smoke and time, but you are no longer fragile. You are stable. You are ready for whatever comes next. Your owner does not place you back on an open shelf to gather dust. He places you in a beautiful, glass-fronted cabinet, a place where you are safe from the dangers of the world, but can still be seen and admired. You have passed from the world of use and the world of commerce into a new world. The world of preservation. You have been rescued from the slow decay of time, not by a soldier or a scholar, but by a book lover, a man who sees your wounds not as flaws, but as badges of honor. Your life in the antiquarian's glass-fronted cabinet is one of peaceful, dignified retirement. For 50 years, you are safe, stable, and admired. The world outside continues its march. The age of steam gives way to the age of electricity, but your world is one of quiet, scholarly calm. Your owner grows old, his hands developing a gentle tremor, but he continues to care for you. taking you out on occasion to show a fellow connoisseur, always handling you with the same loving reverence. When he finally dies, his magnificent collection is too important for a simple auction. The news of its sale spreads through the small, international community of wealthy book collectors. An agent arrives at the house one day. He is different from the bidders you saw at the auction house. He is quiet, professional, and American. He has been sent by a fantastically wealthy industrialist in New York, a man who has built a fortune in railroads or steel, and now seeks to build a library as magnificent as any in Europe. This is the mainstream historical fact of your next great journey. The late 19th and early 20th centuries are the golden age of the American collector. Industrialists with unimaginable fortunes are competing with each other to buy up the cultural treasures of the old world, paintings, sculptures, and most especially, rare books and manuscripts like you. You are about to be part of the great migration of art across the Atlantic. The agent examines you, his face betraying nothing. He has seen the auction records from a century ago. He knows your story, your provenance. He knows his employer must have you. A quiet, private negotiation takes place with the antiquarian's heirs. A price, astronomical by any previous standard, is agreed upon. You have been sold again, this time to a man you have never seen, a man who lives in a world you cannot imagine. As the American agent prepares you for your journey, you wonder about this new owner. What motivates a man like this? Cultural historians still debate the reasons behind this massive, Gilded Age purchasing spree. Was it a genuine love of art and a noble desire to bring European culture to the raw, new cities of America? Or was it a form of competitive social display, a way for these fabulously wealthy robber barons to prove that their new money could buy the same history and prestige as the old money of the European aristocracy? Your new owner's agent, at least, shows you the highest form of respect. You are not simply placed in a crate. He has a custom-made box for you, a quirky and wonderful invention called a Psalter box. It is a clamshell case, lined with soft, dark velvet, built precisely to your dimensions. When you are placed inside and the lid is closed, you are held perfectly, unable to shift, protected from the world. You are taken to a great port city and loaded onto a ship. This is a vessel unlike any you have known. It is a massive thing of iron, and it moves not by the power of wind in a sail, but by the deep, rhythmic, and constant thrum of a great steam engine. You can feel this low, powerful vibration through the floor of your box, a sensation that is entirely new and deeply strange. It is the heartbeat of a new, mechanical age. The journey across the ocean takes weeks. The gentle, constant rocking of the ship is a new kind of motion, a slow, oceanic lullaby. Through the wood and velvet of your box, you can smell the sea. The air is thick with salt and moisture. For an object made of dried animal skin, this is a constant source of low-grade anxiety. You can feel your vellum pages, your very skin, trying to absorb the humidity, trying to ripple and remember their original, organic shape. Finally, the endless rocking stops. The thrum of the engine ceases. You have arrived. You are unloaded onto the docks of a new city. The sounds are different here, louder, faster, a cacophony of steam whistles, motor car horns, and 1,000 languages all spoken at once. You are being carried from the old world into the new. You are placed in a horseless carriage that moves with a controlled series of small explosions, and you are driven to a mansion of staggering size and opulence on a wide city avenue. You are carried into a library that is itself a work of art, with dark wood paneling and a painted ceiling, a room built with new money to look like old history. Your new owner, the great industrialist, is there. He watches as the agent opens the Psalter box and lifts you out. He takes you in his own hands. He is not a scholar, not a priest. He is a man of power, a man who has bent a continent to his will through iron and fire. And now he owns you, a quiet, smoky, 700-year-old book of prayer. You have crossed an ocean your creator never knew existed. You are an immigrant, a refugee from time itself, resting at last in the heart of a new and formidable empire. Your new home is a palace of commerce, a monument to the Gilded Age. Your owner, the great industrialist, is a man who collects history, but is too busy making it to spend much time reading it. You spend most of your days on display in his magnificent two-story library, a silent testament to his wealth and taste. He is proud of you, the way a man is proud of a prize-winning horse or a world-famous painting. He is more interested in the fact that he owns you than in what is inside you, a passion many modern book lovers can probably relate to. You are one of his greatest treasures, but your life is once again one of quiet observation. Decades pass, the industrialist grows old and dies, and in his will, he makes one last, grand gesture that will shape the rest of your long life. This is the mainstream historical fact that defines your modern existence. In a final act of philanthropy, he bequeaths his entire, priceless collection of books and manuscripts to a university, along with an immense fortune to build a library to house it. You are about to go from being a private treasure to a public trust. The move is handled by a new kind of professional, archivists. They pack you with a scientific precision you have never known, and you are transported to a new building on a sprawling university campus. It is a severe, modern building of concrete and glass. You are taken down, deep into the basement, and you pass through a set of doors so heavy and perfectly sealed they look like they belong on a submarine. You have arrived in the vault. This is your new home, and it is a world of engineered perfection. The air is cool and unnaturally still. You can hear the constant, low hum of the climate control system, which keeps the temperature and humidity at the exact, optimal level for the preservation of old vellum and leather. There is no dust, there are no spiders, there is no brilliant sunlight or flickering candlelight. There is only the cool, sterile, filtered air and the profound, engineered silence. You are now living in a luxury retirement home for very old, very important books. You are placed inside a new, custom-made box of acid-free cardboard and laid to rest on a metal shelf, surrounded by other silent, sleeping giants of history. But you are not here simply to be preserved. You are here to be studied. Any qualified scholar or student can now request to see you. When they do, you are brought up from the vault to a special, quiet reading room. And here you encounter the quirky, modern rituals of handling a rare artifact. A young PhD student, a paleographer specializing in your exact period, must first wash her hands thoroughly. She is not allowed to have any pens at her table, only a pencil for taking notes. When you are opened, you are not laid flat. You are rested gently on a special, custom-made cradle of soft foam, with weights shaped like long, soft snakes to hold your pages open without stressing your old, fragile spine. This new life is a paradox, the center of a debate that librarians and curators still argue about. How do you balance preservation with access? Every time you are brought out, handled, and exposed to the light, you suffer a tiny, infinitesimal amount of wear. Every touch, no matter how careful, contributes to your slow decay. But if you are never brought out, if you are kept locked away in the perfect, dark, climate-controlled vault forever, then what is your purpose? You are the living embodiment of this delicate, constant negotiation between being used and being saved. The young student who studies you is a new kind of scribe. She is not copying your text to spread the word of God. She is decoding your history. She leans in close with a magnifying glass, not to admire the beauty of your illuminations, but to analyze the chemical composition of your pigments. She studies the shape of your letters, not to read the Psalms, but to identify the specific hand of your creator, Brother Thomas. She documents the faint water stain from a duchess's tear and the warped edges of your pages from a forgotten fire. She is reading not just the book, but the life of the book. Your purpose has shifted once again. You were a sacred object, a personal companion, a spoil of war, a collector's item. Now you are a primary source document, an object of scientific and historical inquiry. You rest in the perfect darkness of the vault, safe and secure, waiting for the next scholar to call for you, to place you on your foam cradle, and to read the next chapter in the story of your long, strange life. Your new life in the university vault is one of quiet, climate-controlled safety. You are a revered elder, brought out occasionally for the careful inspection of young scholars. You think, perhaps, that this is the final chapter of your life. A slow, peaceful, and predictable retirement. You are, as you have been so many times before, wrong. A new technological revolution is dawning, one as profound as the printing press, and you are about to be a part of it. One morning, you are taken from your vault, but you are not brought to the familiar, quiet reading room. You are wheeled on a special cart to a different part of the library, a place that feels more like a hospital than a home for books. It is a laboratory, sterile and white, filled with strange black machines on metal stands, glowing computer screens, and powerful, hooded lamps. This is the digital imaging lab, and you are here for your official portrait session, a session that will take 3 days and involve far more megapixels than you are comfortable with. You are placed with incredible care onto a black, velvet-covered cradle. Above you is a large, intimidating digital camera, pointing down at you like a great, unblinking eye. 2 tall stands with powerful strobe lights stand on either side. A technician, wearing the familiar white gloves of her profession, begins the slow, methodical process of creating your digital twin. This is the mainstream historical fact of the modern library, the Great Digitization Project. In an effort to preserve their treasures and make them accessible to the world, universities are now undertaking the monumental task of photographing their manuscripts, page by page. The technician turns your first page. She uses a light meter to check the levels. She adjusts the powerful lights. Then there is a soft, electronic beep, followed by a brilliant, cool flash of light that illuminates you more brightly than any candle or sunbeam ever has. A soft, mechanical click from the camera, and it is done. The first image is captured. On a large screen next to the camera, an image of your own page appears. You can see yourself. It is a perfect, flawless, flattened version of you. The colors of your illuminations are brilliant. The gold leaf gleams. The text is perfectly sharp. Even your flaws are rendered in high definition. The faint, puckered stain from the Duchess's tear, the dark, smoky shadow at the edge of the vellum. It's you, but you've had some work done. You are a perfect, weightless, ageless ghost on a glowing screen. The process is repeated hundreds of times. Turn the page, flash, click, check the screen, turn the page, flash, click. It is a slow, hypnotic, and deeply strange experience. Your entire physical being, the result of 17 years of labor and 7 centuries of life, is being systematically translated into a new language of pixels and light. After all the pages have been photographed in normal light, the technician brings in a different kind of camera. This one bathes your pages in a strange, invisible light you cannot see, but you can feel its strange energy. This is multispectral imaging, a quirky and powerful tool of modern science. The technician explains to a student watching the process that infrared light can sometimes reveal text that was scraped away centuries ago, making the ghosts of old mistakes visible again. You feel as if you are being X-rayed, your oldest, most carefully corrected sins being brought back to light for scientific scrutiny. As you lie there, watching your digital self being constructed on the screen, you are once again at the center of a profound debate. Academics and philosophers of technology still argue about what is gained and what is lost in this act of translation. Can this perfect, flat, glowing image on a screen ever truly replicate the experience of you as an object? Can it convey the heft of your oak boards, the smell of smoke and time that clings to you, the unique, textured feel of your vellum pages? Or does it create a new, different, but equally valid experience, an experience of pure information, accessible to anyone, anywhere? The technician, satisfied with her work, tells the student that after the images are processed and cataloged, they will be uploaded to the university's online digital library. You are about to become globally accessible. A scholar in Japan, a student in Brazil, a curious teenager in your old home of Northumbria will all be able to turn your pages with the click of a mouse. You are about to go viral 7 centuries after your creation. The last photo is taken, the flashes stop. You are carefully placed back into your acid-free box and return to the quiet darkness of the vault. You are physically unchanged, yet everything is different. You now have a twin, an immortal doppelganger made of light and code that lives in a world you can never know. Your long physical journey may be nearing its end, but your new journey, as pure information, is just about to begin. You lie in the perfect, sterile darkness of the university vault, your long life seemingly at an end. You are an object of preservation now, your story complete. But in the glowing, weightless world of the internet, a new chapter is beginning. Your ghost is awake. Your digital twin, made of light and code, is now accessible to the entire world, waiting for someone to find you. Far away, in a small, cluttered dormitory room lit by a single desk lamp, a young PhD student is scrolling through an online library database. Her field is art history, her specialty the Gothic period. Her dissertation topic is a strange one. She is studying the role of humor and subversion in the margins of 14th century English manuscripts. She is looking for something specific, a rare example, a book that is both pious and playful. And then she finds your catalog entry. She clicks the link. On her glowing screen, your first page appears. And for the first time in your long existence, you are being read in a completely new way. The student is not a priest, not a duchess, not a collector. She is a detective. With the click of her mouse, she zooms in on your pages with a power that no human eye has ever possessed. She can see the individual fibers of your vellum, the way the iron gall ink has cracked over the centuries, the faint, ghostly trace of your creator's first ruled lines beneath the text. But she is not here for the text. For the first time in your life, someone is completely ignoring the Psalms. She scrolls right past the beautiful, solemn script. She gives your glorious, golden historiated initial only a passing glance. She is here for the margins. She is here for the doodles. Her research is focused entirely on the strange, chaotic, and creative world that Brother Thomas built around the edges of the sacred word. She lets out a soft laugh when she sees it. The knight in full armor locked in mortal combat with the giant snail. She has seen this motif before, but she notes that your creator's version is particularly well drawn, with a comical look of grim determination on the knight's tiny face. She saves a screenshot. Then she finds the page with the killer rabbit, the one holding the bow and arrow. She zooms in on the rabbit's face, on its cool, calculating expression. She is captivated. She has found the subject of her next chapter. For months, the student lives with your digital ghost. She becomes your first true stalker, in a very academic sense. She pores over every single one of your pages, not reading the words, but analyzing the pictures. She starts to see patterns that no one, not even your previous owners, has ever noticed. She sees that the unique way Brother Thomas drew the knuckles on a monkey's hand is the same way he drew the knuckles on King David's hand. She sees that the pigment used for a tiny, monstrous bird's beak is the same precious vermilion used for a saint's robe. Her work touches upon a long-running scholarly question. Academics still debate whether these marginal drawings were the work of the master scribe, perhaps as a way to relieve boredom, or if they were sometimes added by junior apprentices who were only permitted to work in the less important spaces of the page. But as this student gathers her evidence, she becomes convinced that in your case, the pious artist and the witty cartoonist were one and the same man. The same steady hand that formed the sacred letters of God's name also drew the absurd image of a goose wearing a rosary. And in this realization, something remarkable happens. This is the moment you finally smell of hope. The student, separated from your creation by 700 years of war, fire, and neglect, feels a profound connection to the man who made you. She sees his personality. She senses his humor in the snail, his weariness in a slightly shaky line in the later Psalms, his secret frustrations in a drawing of a fox dressed as a bishop. Through his doodles, Brother Thomas ceases to be a nameless, anonymous scribe. He becomes a person, the hope of every artist, every creator. The hope of being truly seen, of being understood, is finally being fulfilled for him through her. The student writes her dissertation. You become the star of a very specific, very niche academic paper that will be read by dozens of people around the world. But more than that, the connection has been made. The soul of your creator, dormant for centuries, has been rediscovered. You lie in your dark vault, a silent physical object. But your ghost, your story, and the personality of the man who breathed life into you are now awake and alive in the world in a way they have not been for 700 years. Your digital ghost is famous in the small, intense world of academia, and the paper written about you has brought new attention to the university's collection. To celebrate, the library curators decide to mount a public exhibition. And you are to be the star of the show. After decades of rest in the quiet darkness of the vault, you are brought up into the light once more, this time to be placed at the very center of a grand exhibition hall. You are laid carefully in a sealed, climate-controlled glass case, resting on a custom-made velvet cradle. A series of low-intensity fiber-optic lights illuminate your open pages. The curator, a woman who has spent her entire career studying books like you, has chosen which page to display. She has opened you to the beginning of Psalm 51, the great psalm of penitence. On one side of the spread, a magnificent illumination of King David kneeling in prayer. On the other side, a small, dark, puckered stain, left by the tear of a grieving duchess more than 500 years ago. The curator has chosen to show not just your beauty, but your history, your pain, and the people come. For the first time since the golden age of the pilgrimage road, you are seen by the public. A river of faces flows past your glass case every day. They are not pilgrims or scholars. They are tourists, schoolchildren, art lovers, and curious passers-by. They pause for a moment to look at you. Most of them spend only 30 seconds looking at the object that took a man 17 years to create. It is the ultimate form of speed reading. A small label next to your case summarizes your entire, long, dramatic life in 150 words. You watch them, you see the wonder in their eyes as they look at the vibrant, impossible blue of your lapis lazuli, a color that seems to defy the centuries. You see them lean in closer, trying to comprehend that every letter was formed by a human hand. You see a young child point at the strange little monster in your margin, the one your creator drew on a boring Tuesday afternoon 700 years ago. The child laughs, a sound of pure delight, a connection made across an ocean of time. In this moment, you are at the heart of a question that museum theorists and philosophers still debate. In an age where anyone can see your perfect digital copy on their screen at home, what is the value of seeing the real thing? Why do people still come and stand in front of this glass box? The answer, you feel, is in the air around you. It is the aura of the original. It is the knowledge that this object, this very thing in front of them, survived the fire. That this vellum felt the warmth of a duchess's hand, that this leather was carried in a soldier's sack. The digital ghost has no substance, no story of survival. You are the survivor, you are the history itself, and you smell of it. The air inside your climate-controlled case is pure and sterile, but you know that if someone could lift the glass, they would be greeted by the complex perfume of your life. It is the scent that gives this story its name. First, there is the faint, clean, animal scent of the vellum itself, the ghost of the sheep from the monastery fields. Then there is the memory of rain, the salty trace of a noblewoman's tears, a grief so profound it left a physical mark on you. And under it all, the deep, pervasive, and indelible scent of smoke, a reminder of the night you almost died, a scent of terror but also of survival. And what of the hope? The hope is in the student who saw not just a book, but the soul of its creator. The hope is in the child who laughs at the doodle. The hope is in the fact that after all this time, after all the violence and neglect and fire and forgetting, you are still here. You are safe, you are telling your story, you have endured, and so you rest behind the glass, a silent storyteller. Your long journey through the loud and dangerous world is finally over. The hands that held you, the creator, the duchess, the soldier, the scholar, the collector, the conservator, are all long gone to dust. But you remain. The great, heavy book is closed now, its story told, its purpose fulfilled. The scent of rain and smoke begins to fade into a peaceful memory, a gentle and distant aroma that signals the coming of a deep and well-earned rest. Let the image of the book in its quiet case soften and dissolve, leaving only the feeling of stillness, of safety, of a story that has found its final, peaceful harbor. The work is done, the journey is complete, and now you can sleep.